So when I was a kid, I remember it was probably, it was a major holiday. It was probably like Easter, Thanksgiving, or Christmas. I don't know, it was something. But my mom is very typical Hispanic, like obsesses over cleaning. Like everything has to be clean all the time. So you all know, like the day before a holiday, they like freak out and they're like, fine, you gotta get up early and you gotta clean everything before people come, and if you don't, then you don't hear the end of it. Well, that's exactly what happened. I thought to myself, I woke up kind of early today. I should go and start cleaning before my mom wakes up and raises something and gets all upset or whatever. And so I was like, whatever. I'll just lay here and not do it. And I don't know. I was dumb. But anyway, I decided to just stay in bed, and she ended up coming in and into my room, like pounding on the door, telling me to get up and go get up and clean. So my quote, or as Anton France once said, it is human nature to think wisely and act foolishly. And that's my personal example of one time that I thought the right thing, I thought the wise thing that would keep me out of trouble, but yet I acted foolishly. Who knows why, but I did. And so I think in life we can all relate to times that we've chosen to act foolishly even though we knew better. But I think that there can be good and bad consequences of that. For example, with mine, my bad consequence was I got yelled at like all day, and I had to like do most of the work because my mom was mad at me, obviously, because she knew that I was awake. And so that was my bad consequence, and that's what happens when you act foolishly. You have bad repercussions and stuff, and sometimes you get in trouble like I did. And then on the other hand, I think that there can also be good consequences, like you learn from your mistakes when you act foolishly, and you learn not to make them again. Now I know that on a holiday, since I still live with my parents, that on something important I get up and I clean so that my mom doesn't go crazy on me. And also, I feel like it makes life a little more interesting when you act foolishly. Sometimes the things that you regret in the moment, you end up laughing about later on. Today, it's a good example. My experience helped me come up with an example for this, so I guess it wasn't too bad. I think acting foolishly is human nature, but it doesn't always, it has good and bad to it. So, thank you.
All right. Well, I like the story that you have at the beginning that leads into the subject. You use it for the rest of the speech, as a matter of fact, so it becomes kind of like the main example of your presentation. When you got to the topic, I thought I understood exactly where you were going, so I thought you had a reasonable interpretation of the topic. There's no preview of where you're headed, and I think as a consequence, it feels a little bit like you've got what does they say? Sort of stream of consciousness going on. It seemed when you got to a second point, which is, well, there are positive things from this too. I've kind of learned it's sort of like I thought you realized I need a little bit of a structure here, so let me get to a different counterpoint there. And that's okay, but it would have been better if you'd planned that at the beginning and set that up so that it would feel more like this was you in charge of what you were talking about, as opposed to simply reacting to what's going on. Presentation issues, I like your voice projection, that's pretty good. There's good variety in your voice. If I'm not looking at you, I think you sound pretty good. The problem is there are a few things that you're doing while I'm looking at you that are a little problematic. You have a tendency to look down and around the corners and up in the air whenever you are thinking. And you're thinking quite a lot during the presentation, so you don't really engage the audience. You don't ignore us. You do scan us occasionally, but it really feels like we're just getting scanned as opposed to being engaged and being talked to. So you're talking in front of us and you're thinking out loud in front of us, and you really want to be talking to us a little bit more. So I think that's a problem. Your gestures, you have a few indicators here and there, but you have a tendency to, I don't know if I described it to people that way, get into the fig leaf pose where you're holding your hand in front of yourself and your two hands are down in front of you, and it's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And then once in a while there are a couple of indicators, but they're always kind of low, down below the waist sort of thing. And I think you need to feel a little bit more, like I said, engaged. We're back to the comment that I made before. It's a little bit like you are seeing yourself thinking out loud in front of the audience instead of engaging the audience in the presentation. So those would be things to fix also. I think the anxiety comes out in your eyes and your hands, and you do a shoulder shrug thing frequently. Sometimes it's part of what you're doing. It's an intentional sort of thing, but there are a few times when it comes by and it just feels like, well, I'm just done. I got to get to the next idea, so let me just shrug off what's going on there. And instead of feeling like you're in charge, again, it feels like it's problematic. I did think, however, at the end of the speech that you had a kind of a nice summary of what you were saying, and you kind of reminded us again about what the point was that you were trying to make. So even though there's some delivery issues, you got a lot of mileage out of the idea that you had there, and that's a good idea. Gesundheit. All right. Thank you. That was a sneeze, right?
Yeah.
Okay.